Welcome back. So I'm still reading the national bestseller Salvation, Black People and Love by the author Bell Hooks. I'm in the chapter Loving Black Masculinity, and I wasn't going to read any further, at least publicly. I was still reading my book because further in this chapter she leaned into the roots of the gender wars that we are watching on the internet. And I really don't want to be one of those people that gives more oxygen to that kind of nonsense. But part of healing is surgery. It's removing cancerous things and leaving the healthy things to thrive. It's getting rid of the yucky stuff out of the wound so the wound can heal. So I'm going to press in and I won't ramble anymore. Generations of black men who came after my dad, men like my brother, had to some extent been shielded from the hatred and contempt of the white world in ways that their fathers had not. These young black men did not live with the day-to-day fear that they would be lynched or shot on the spot with impunity for the shooter if they got out of their place. Yet these contemporary young black men had and have a level of discontent and rage that was and is far deeper than the anger of their fathers, because their expectations were and are greater. All the gains of the civil rights struggle had led them to feel that they were entitled to everything this country had to offer, every benefit, every privilege. This is me. Of course, I think they're entitled to every benefit and every privilege. But here's where they went wrong. They felt that they were more entitled to privileges than black women, or for that matter, any group of women, because they had been sent by the country to wars. They were expected to give their life for the country, and they expected the country to give something back to them. So here we were repeating the cycle of oppression. We oppressed by white people because they think they deserve more, and now the black man wants to oppress the black women and other women because they think they deserve more. Sixth cycle of oppression. Patriarchal thinking fueled black male rage at the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s. This new generation of young black patriarchs had never suffered the abuses their fathers and grandfathers had known, yet they were more inclined to weep and moan and expect their tears would be wiped away. They were willing to play the roles of victim to the hilt if it meant that they could get over. Unlike their black male ancestors, they were fundamentally opportunistic. Elaine Brown's memoir, A Taste of Power, painfully documents the extent to which many young black males leading the militant black power struggle were psychologically confused, obsessed with grandiose visions of power. They were willing to engage in coercive domination as a way of asserting control and gaining power. While militant black male leaders challenged white supremacy in productive ways, their uncritical embrace of patriarchy undermined anti-racist struggle by falsely projecting the idea that black women were the enemies of black men. So it's not new to the internet. You had that culture or subculture existing. Unlike the generations of hard-working patriarchal black men who had preceded them, they passively accepted the white man's account of black masculinity and made it their own. They did not want to be like their fathers. Nathan McCall attests to this fact in his memoir, Makes Me Wanna Holler. Quote, I've never heard my friends say they wanted to be like their fathers when they grew up. Why would we want that when we knew our fathers were catching hell? That would be like saying we wanted to catch hell too. If anything, we wanted to be the opposite of our fathers. We didn't want to work for the white man and end up like that. End quote. This This was the mindset that led new generations of black males to accept the racist notion that their fathers were not real men, and with it the idea that black women were somehow in cahoots with white men to keep the black man down. At other moments in our history, black males and females had recognized that we were in the struggle together. It was assumed that part of what freedom would ultimately bring was a lifestyle where all black men would be patriarchs and keep their women subordinate. To my father, it was a mark of pride that Mama did not work when we were growing up. Now and then, when she did little jobs to buy luxuries for her children, he was not pleased and felt she was indulging us. Believing that hard work creates discipline, he felt it was important that we learn as children to sacrifice and work hard. My brother did not share this work ethic. He wanted life to be easy. When it was not, he and the males of his generation looked for someone to blame. Our father and the black men of his generation always knew white supremacy was the problem, not black women. When the younger generation of black males could not blame everything on white racism, they targeted black women. In the early 70s, many young black males had begun to denounce black women as traitors, falling in line with the thinking of the Mahanian report, which suggested that a black matriarchy existed which disempowered black men. They began to suggest that black women should be more subordinate if black men were to assume their rightful place as patriarchs, right? Just like white men needed to have their rightful place, now black men are the oppressors. Love was not the issue. The issue was their ongoing homosocial war with white men. When Eldridge Cleaver published Soul on Ice, he was not denouncing racist, sexist stereotypes that labeled all black men rapists. Embracing the identity of rapists, he bragged about raping black women as practice for raping white women. Cleaver and the black males who thought as he did were conducting a war with white men over who could be the real man, the hard man, the big D. In the wake of the contemporary feminist movement, black males were daring white men to stand up and celebrate patriarchal masculinity rooted in woman-hating. Cleaver and other self-declared militant black male leaders said nothing about love. Importantly, we need to remember that it was a white male-dominated publishing industry which printed and sold Soul on Ice. While white male patriarchs were pretending to respond to the demands of the feminist movement, they were allowing and even encouraging black males to give voice to violent woman-hating sentiments. So while they're pretending or actually freeing their women, they're allowing black men to harm their women. That's how white supremacy works, as long as you are stupid enough to buy into it. Since black males were portrayed as victims, castrated and emasculated, white and black women alike were especially forgiving of black male sexism. When individual black women active in the feminist movement challenged black male misogyny, we were attacked as traitors to the race. The publication of Michelle Wallace's Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman was the first major attempt by a black woman to critique black male woman hating. We now just say misogynoirs. It was tacitly assumed that were black males able to gain access to the patriarchal privilege that had for the most part been denied them, they would love themselves. If they regained their lost manhood, with it would come an intact self-esteem and self-love. Tragically, black men did not win the war against white male patriarchs. Our leaders were assassinated and imprisoned. The movement that had begun with a bang ended with a whimper. While many lives had been lost, black people were not free. Without militant warfare, white women were gaining rights and access to jobs that had been denied black people. The ascendancy of white women who were winning their fight for equal rights with men of their class seemed to intensify black men's rage, and they gave public voice to fierce woman-hating. These young men disrespected and devalued black women's place in the freedom struggle. Their newly found manhood could only be affirmed when they could subordinate women. On the manhood front, the image of the militant black prince fighting for his freedom was soon replaced by the get-over playboy image of the daddy mac, the pimp, unable to sustain a competitive patriarchal masculinity in the world of work where control was still in white hands. Many patriarchal black men looked to the sexual arena as the place where they could salvage wounded self-esteem. While they might not possess the political and economic power of patriarchal white men, they could outdo them on the sexual front. When it came to sex, they could win. Books like Gentlemen of Leisure, A Year in the Life of a Pimp, extol the rewards of exploiting women, white and black, to get over. Embracing sexual images that were racist, sexist, and dehumanizing gave black men the license to use and abuse black women. It created divisions between the sexes in ways that undermined anti-racist struggle. So I'm going to stop here. Of course, I'm mindful. This chapter started with her talking about the diversity in the black community. So of course we know all black men are not like that. And it only the people who will respond to things when you're talking about the negative by saying not all black men or not all white people are usually people who are guilty, because everybody knows not all black men behave like that. Not all black men exploit women. Not all black men engage in misogynoir behavior, but we're talking about the cancer. We're trying to cut it out. We're trying to get rid of it so the healthy stuff can live. So you can't pretend not to see the cancer. Ignoring the cancer will not prevent it from spreading through the body. We have to be able to identify it and surgically remove it. So yeah, I'm totally aware, and so is she. Not all black men. But tell me what you think. Thanks so much for listening.